Global Broadcasting Networks presents Military Mom Talk Radio. We know behind every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine is the family supporting them. With over 200 episodes in 17 countries, over 5 seasons, with 3 million monthly listeners, we are radio strong. Now here are your hosts, Sandra, Beck, and Robin Boyd.
Welcome to today's yoga show, and we're going to be talking with yoga expert Judy, Rosquete, and I'd like to thank Madison Reed for sponsoring our show today. And Madison Reed is a company that's revolutionizing the way all women color their hair, a company the founder, Amy Errett, named after her daughter. For decades, women have had 2 options, outdated at-home hair color or the time and expense of a salon. Amy created Madison Reed because she believes women deserve better than the status quo. Madison Reed is the ultimate hair color hack. It's got the quality of salon color, the convenience and affordability of at-home hair color, and an ammonia-free formula with ingredients you can feel good about. Experience beautiful multi-dimensional hair color made in Italy, delivered to your door on your schedule for under $25. I love my Madison Reed color because my hair looks great and the color is super natural. Because, see, I want people to come up to me and say I have gorgeous hair or that I look good, not ask about my stylist or who did my hair. I want to be a natural beauty. And Madison Reed gives me that salon look without the salon price or salon time commitment. And, you know, as a soul-supporting single mom with 2 middle school-age kids, yeah, cost is a consideration. But more importantly, I don't have the time to blow 3 hours at a salon plus travel time. What single mom does? So join the hundreds and thousands of women who have tried and loved Madison Reed. Find your perfect shade at madison-reed.com. Madison Reed would like to honor our Military Mom Talk listeners today with 10% off free shipping on your first color kit by using promo code MilitaryMom at checkout. That's madison-reed.com, promo code MilitaryMom. I really love my Madison Reed hair color, and you will too. And we are going to talk about so many things today. We're going to talk about how to handle our back, how to take care of our hips, how to take care of our necks, all these things that drive us bananas when we're texting on our phone, we're on our tablets, we're on our computers. Some of us are born with, better backs than others. It's just a myriad of things that we can fix from yoga, and I'm living proof because I have been practicing yoga for 3 years now, and I'm by no means an expert, but I went and turned to yoga because I had chronic back and neck pain, and it was my lifestyle that contributed it, along with my own, family arthritis. Some people inherit jewels and, pretty rings. I got arthritis from my mom, but these things really started to plague me as I got older, and I really didn't want to turn to more drugs. I was taking painkillers almost every day for headaches, back and neck. I needed to make some lifestyle changes, and I turned to yoga. And before you guys laugh at me, because I was the one who was like, it's not a workout unless I'm swimming 5 miles or running 20 minutes at a clip and then getting a drink and then running another 20 minutes. Judy, I was an athlete from the time I was 4 up until my college years, and I swam and I carried all these things with me. Yeah. And my first yoga class, I wrote a blog called Yoga Did Not Help Me Learn to Forgive, because my first yoga class, I was competing with everybody. There was some
You're
old
young
man,
and you're still competing.
Yes.
It's when you have the pain that sets in, and then you're like, you're not competing anymore. Go ahead.
That's it. Well, and I fell over. The old man next to me was bending like a pretzel, and I'm like, crap, he's old, I'm young, I can do this. And, I had to be at the right, yoga came to me at the right time with the right attitude, right. And I really needed pain to kick my ass to get there.
That's right. I had the similar experience when I was younger. I was going to the gym, and I was so in shape, and I was strong, and I was bored, because after 3 months in the gym, you think of what else can you do? You get bored in the gym. So there was a yoga class going on, and the teacher was 60 years old. And after the first day of doing yoga, because I didn't want to do it because it was 90 minutes, the class initially, and it seemed slow. But after the first day, I really felt it in my neck, my shoulders, my upper back. It was strengthening. It was correcting is what it was doing. My roundness, I had a little bit of roundness, kyphosis in the upper back. That was the problem.
Well, I think we all do today with the gadgets. You know, I look at people. I was sitting at a restaurant last week in Ventura, right on the ocean, watching the people walk by and having this wonderful fish dinner. And I looked at the people walking by. So many of them were hunched, and these were kids. They weren't, they weren't like, 90-something.
With children. I mean, they're starting off like this. How horrible is that? At 12, 13 years old, they're completely rounding. They have no neck, because no roundness in their neck. The neck is supposed to go forward in space, a little curve there when your head lifts up, because your head is heavy. It's like 10 to 12 pounds, and you need to have a little bit of strength there in the spine. But when you're dropping your head, that's 10 to 12 pounds going down and maybe forward, you're losing that neck curve, creating problems in the future and pain already. Let's see. I wanted to tell you something else about that. I can't remember. Go ahead.
That's okay. It's talk radio. That's we're just talking. Or you pull up a chair, you listen, you learn something, you try something new. And I did find though that my yoga practice has changed over the years. Like even in the 3 years I was doing, yoga, I was going to fix it quick. And I kept measuring like how far I could bend. And a month ago I could do this, and 2 months ago I could do that. And now I can do this. And I think I was really missing the boat on some of it. I think the correction that I've seen in my posture and the ability for me to move like I'm 20 years younger have been two of just the byproducts of pain relief.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to get lost in wanting to do the pose all out. So if I do a forward bend, and this is a big one, forward bend, I could go and touch my toes, and what am I doing? Completely rounding my lower back, which eventually led to a bulging disc. Pain.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's how people get into herniations. And you could get herniations in the mid-back when there's roundness. You could get a herniation in the neck. But the most popular place to get herniations is in the lower back, from my experience. And it's not about getting the pose right. It's about the journey to start and you doing it properly aligned.
Well, and that's hard for a lot of us. I think when you're transitioning from, working professional, type A personality, entrepreneur, or, mom going 100 miles an hour, it was really hard for me. And my yoga instructor, Kathy, the first thing she had me do was sit still. She was like, I don't even think you could sit still. And she knows me. She's taught my kids in school. And it was really hard for me. It took me probably at least a month to be able to sit still for 5 minutes, not fidgeting, not moving, not, and it was, once I got the competitive spirit of sitting still, I was into it, but it drove me bananas in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Type A personalities, we live here in New York City, and it's a go-go place. And the most popular studios are those studios that push you. So the hot yoga studios and the ones that have vinyasa, there's a lot of strengthening and movement and mobility, and everybody wants to do everything for their ego, not because it's really helping them. Yes, they do feel good afterwards, unless they don't feel good afterwards, unless they have a misalignment and they hurt themselves. It's common to hurt yourself in yoga if you have too much flexibility. They call it hypermobile in the joints, like in the knees and in the elbows and in the shoulders. You could easily hurt your neck. You could easily hurt your shoulders, and you easily hurt your knees. Those are very common ones. And, of course, your back. So, but people want to do everything all out at the cost of what? Even not even being aligned properly. So, there's a pose that's a wheel pose, where it's a back bend, right? You're on your hands and your feet, and you push up away from the floor, and you're supposed to be rounded, but a lot of people are not ready for that. Their shoulders are too tight, and they're misaligned, and hence they get hurt, and they eventually come to the studio where I teach,
right.
which is a yoga studio for back care and scoliosis. It's called Yoga Union.
Well, and that's so interesting, because I was working with a health practitioner in my business. Like, she was my client, and she said to me, I was telling her about my yoga fiascos in the past. And she said, Sandra, she said, it's like yin and yang, fire and water. And she's like, you go 100 miles an hour. And the first thing she had me do was she sent me this big, giant pink yoga ball. I mean, I love it. I still have it today. It's in my office here. She's like, I want you to, and she meant this, made this analogy of this yin and yang. And she's like, you sit hunched forward on the computer. You're hunched over your microphone. You've got these heavy headphones on your head. She's like, after you finish a show or a couple shows, she goes, I want you to just roll your yoga ball over and lay on it backwards, like a back bend. And she goes, and just lay there and just relax.
Gosh, that's such a nice friend.
She's a great friend. Yeah, Dr. Mitra Goucher. And
did you do it?
I did, and I still do it today. And it's the way I rejuvenate after my computer work. And it's based on yoga. It's the back bend, but it's supported. And you're
We're
right.
talking about support over here. So what I was saying before, when I was younger, I cared to go to yoga classes when I was younger. I cared to go to yoga classes that were constantly going, right? So it was either vinyasa or the classical hatha yoga classes. But I wanted to physically be challenged. Right? As I got older, and I didn't care for any of these props. They got in the way. To me, they got in the way of the meditation, of the focus, of what I wanted to feel. Too much talking. So eventually, I came to grow and love props. They kept me supported. They kept me aligned. They kept my back happy. They kept me pain-free. I didn't even know I had issues with my back until I started getting older. Oh, and then I went to a yoga union where we had a back care certification, and that's where I got to really learn about my back.
That's amazing that these things that make us, who we are can change our lives.
Yeah, Sandra, we always think we're healthy, we're fine, we're strong. And we think that until we are challenged. And they're like, wait, but we don't even get it. Like, we don't get it until we get it. We could be misaligned. I always thought I just needed more practice. I'm better on this side than on that side. I never questioned why. Why am I better on this side than on that side? Oh, because I'm a righty. So in your mind, you're constantly making these little excuses or finding a reason until somebody from the outside tells you, no, you have an asymmetry in your spine. I'm like, I have what? And this is how we do it on this side, and this is how we do it on the other side. I thought that was fascinating. And I said, I'm staying. So I used to teach regular yoga, classical hatha yoga, and now I teach yoga specifically for individuals with back issues, scoliosis, and the like. So anything from herniation, spondylolisthesis, you name it, we have it all there.
Well, I think it's so great because everybody I talk to, especially those working professionals and moms lugging kids around, I mean, like, you name it, when you get to be 30, 35, 40 years old, everybody has something with their back. We're visiting today with Judy Rosquete. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about how yoga can work for you and correct some of these things that we've been doing to beat up our bodies over the years. We'll be back after the break.
Stay with us on Military Mom Talk Radio.
It's words you never heard.
Recently, while my family was skiing in Colorado, we were greeted by a red fox that darted out of the trees. This beautiful animal with his big bushy tail just stood in the snow and stared right at us. Maybe he smelled all the liverwort we had in our pockets. Liverwort is another word for junk and snack food. Typically, a red fox eats scrub and woodland, but this one appeared to have had his share of hamburgers and hot dogs from the Chalet Grill. Foxes are similar to dogs, except they are not pack animals. The female fox, or vixen, typically gives birth to a litter of 2 to 12 pups. When they are young, they all live together as a family, known as a leash of foxes. Once grown, the young foxes leave the burrow and go out to live on their own.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Word.
If you could live your life truly standing in a place of peace, joy, and abundance, wouldn't that make your heart soar? Now you can, with lessons in joyful living. with your host, Kimberly Rinaldi, Mondays at noon Central. Kimberly Rinaldi, having created a highly successful coaching practice, now teaches lessons in joyful living. She believes in empowering others and that through it, you have the ability to break through any and all barriers, thus allowing you to reach your greatest potential and joyfully step into your life's purpose. What used to take weeks, months, or even years, she can now teach you in a matter of hours with her programs. For more on Kim and her show, go to her website, KimberlyRinaldi.com. That's RINALDI.com. Then join us for Lessons in Joyful Living with your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
We're back with more great conversation on Military Mom Talk Radio.
Hey, and welcome back to the Yoga Show. And yes, we can do yoga on the radio. We've done belly dancing on the radio. We're now doing yoga on the radio. But I think it's really important we visit with Judy Rosquete because in my career, I started out at the studios in the industry, television industry, so I could wear what I wanted. And I wore sneakers or gym shoes, whatever part of the country you're in. I wore those a lot. Then I moved into residential real estate in multi-million-dollar homes. I wore heels every day, and I clunked up and down hills. I walked around pools. I mean, tottering on these heels. And I found that when I left that industry and started working heavily in the tech industry, I think, Judy, I've done just about everything you could do to ruin your back other than like snap it like a matchstick.
Sorry to hear. Yeah, that's a common problem. Fortunately, we have better designed flip-flops and sandals now, so we could just hop on board that fashion craze and protect our knees, our hips, and our back. In the end, it's just not worth it. You know, once you start feeling the pain and you want to correct yourself, you can't go back in time. So just start now. Have a healthy back. Alignment is extremely important.
Well, and I'm living proof that, you know, I used to have what I would call a 1, 2, and a 3 Aleve day. Aleve was my painkiller of choice. And
right.
My ex-husband or my kids would say, you know, what kind of day is it? And I'm like, oh, it's a 2 Aleve or a 3 Aleve. And I started going through a bottle, like a big one, a bottle a month. And I was like, I need to make some changes now. I'm living proof that through diet, exercise, sleep, you can reverse or at least mitigate a lot of this stuff. And I might get a headache a month, if that now, Judy, from having one a day at least and needing 1, 2, or 3 Aleves.
Oh, that's terrible.
I think the divorce helped too.
But, you know, when you don't know what to do or when you don't know what's causing it, you may know what's causing it. You may know it's your heels and, hey, it is what it is because you have to sacrifice that for the job that you had at the time. But fortunately, you moved on, and now you're in radio.
That's
so
true.
No more of that. Nobody has to see your feet. But it is important to be as we age to be aware of our habits, how we stand, and even how we walk. Once in a while, I get somebody that says they have a pain somewhere, let's say on their hip, and they focus on their hip pain. But the pain doesn't actually stem from their hip. It could be stemming from their ankles, that their ankles are caving in because their arches are dropped. So there's really a lot to learn, and what you need to do is focus on a daily practice. Every day, just make sure you know what you're doing. If you need some guidance, I could definitely point you in the right direction as to take care of your back. Even if you don't have time to do much yoga, 5-10 minutes a day, there are programs online that we have that could possibly guide you in the right direction. Should you not have that much time, or if you simply need guidance. You've never done yoga and you have no idea what to do.
Well, I think one of the things that starting a yoga practice does, whether you do it online or take it in a class or study with someone privately, it really makes me aware of my weak spots. Like every once in a while, Judy, if I haven't done my workout in a while, I will go to put my shoe on. Like I'll cross my knee over my leg. Like, you know what I mean? Like where you put your ankle on your other knee to tie your shoe.
Ankle to knee pose, yeah.
Yeah, and I will feel tightness in my hip or I'll feel tightness in my knee. And I'm like, you're not stretching enough. You're not doing enough, because normally I can flip my leg up there and put my shoe on and be fine. Or like, I know this sounds funny, but when I put my underpants on in the morning, like I change my clothes, I put my bra on, it's like when I can snap my bra behind, like I can put the clasp together super easily because of that one pose. Or if I'm running and I can stand and hop on one leg, put my underpants on and have my phone on my shoulder talking. I can do that easily, and I'm over 40. And if I'm not doing my regular practice, those simple things, underpants, bra, and tying my shoe, become more difficult. And I think it does raise an awareness of your body and how it can perform when it's performing properly.
Correct. Awareness, you hit the nail on the head there. Awareness is what you need. How am I standing? When I stand, is my pelvis moving forward? Is my upper back collapsing down into my lower back? Why do I have pain in my back? I mean, all of these things, you have to bring awareness. And alignment-based movement or alignment-based yoga practice, maybe with a proper teacher that's trained in this, can guide you in the right direction. Because truly, truly, we are clueless. We are clueless. So, not many people in America have access to yoga everywhere. I know where you live, there's plenty of it in California. Where I live in New York, way more. There's plenty of it. But in all of America, we get emails all the time, like, where can I find a yoga teacher that does alignment-based yoga? Where can I fix, my scoliosis? Who can I go to? It's hard. So we had to, pretty much like get the information together and help as many people as we can. Fortunately, we have the internet now. Thank God. I can't even imagine living now without the internet. There's so much information, and we get people calling in and emailing us from all over the world. It's fascinating. Isn't it fascinating to have a job where people contact you from I don't know, Budapest, Thailand? Interesting.
It's fascinating. Well, and it raises a point. Like I've subscribed to some different yoga channels online. Like I like the pay ones. Gaia has one, and some other ones like that. But I've tried to do some of the yoga workouts just on YouTube, and I found some are really good, some really stink.
Yeah.
But if you have an issue, like this is where, like, with scoliosis or something like that, or a pervasive issue, this is where, like, I'm going to just buzz in and go, you got to go to the expert. What's your website for especially for people with scoliosis or this type of back issue? Where should people go to find reliable information? Because you came to me through a friend of mine, and you did such good work with her husband. And when I saw him at 3-month intervals, I could see a difference. And I was like, wow, what is he doing? And she told me, and that's how you came on the show today. So I always like to give out reliable information
nice
to where people can get help.
Thank you very much. Yeah, he had severe scoliosis all his life. And now as he's aged, he's lost height. So he's lost some inches. And what happens when you have scoliosis and you lose inches, the curve, which is the scoliotic curve, gets bigger, and it pops out a little further back in space, and you have more pain. So unfortunately, I've been able to help him so far. He's sticking with it. But we do have an online program. Well, if you could go to the website from my friend, her name is Rachel Jessian, and the website name is www.rachel, RACHEL, Jessian, JESIEN.com. On this website, she put together a series for people with all kinds of back issues. So there's actually 2 programs. One is for scoliosis specifically, and then the other one is for general back care, and that includes people that are very rounded in the upper back. It's called kyphosis. They're very rounded and they're hunched forward. People that have herniations, people that have spondylolisthesis, and various back issues, asymmetry in the pelvis, and just general poor posture. That's the one to go to. And I was speaking to Rachel today, and she was so kind. She said if anybody was interested in participating in any one of these series through your show, she can give you a coupon code, and they can get a discount.
Oh, well, go ahead and announce it for our listeners.
Great. All right. So if you go to racheljessian.com and sign off for the back care, the general back care series, the coupon code, you get 10% off. The coupon code is Beck, BC. So it's all capital letters, all one word, BECK, BC. And the one for scoliosis, it's Beck, SC, BECK, SC, all in capital letters, one word. So
We'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. They get 10% off, and also you get to peruse and see what's really out there, because sometimes we don't know until somebody points it out to us, until they see an ad in the paper, or somebody likes a video on Facebook. That's actually how her work became viral. There was an 86-year-old woman who was completely rounded over and using a walker, and she eventually helped her, and little by little, after a few months, that woman's back is completely straight. You saw that picture?
I did. Yeah. And, it's interesting because, and this is so, like, you're going to laugh at me for this, but when your posture is better, you look younger and thinner.
You want to live. You want to dance. You want to get on the floor with your grandkids. Even if you don't have grandkids. I have young people coming to the studio with issues in their backs. Thank God they're coming while they're young. And then I also have people that have had surgery that do have surgery to sort of bind together the, what's it called? Bind together the vertebra. What's the word? I can't think of it right now. Anyway, so they had scoliosis, and in order to get it straight, they would get this surgery. Some of them is called Harrington rods that they put. They also have other kinds of rods that people have. So what happens is their bones, by X-ray, actually look straight. However, the musculature, because of all these habits constantly going to one side for years and years and years, stays. So even though you have a straight spine, the muscles are pushing into the hardware that's now there. Fusions, that's what I meant to say, fusions. The pushing into the hardware that's now there, causing pain. And they still have to come to the yoga classes for scoliosis to get to derotate, to lengthen and strengthen.
Well, and we change our body. Our body changes as we age. So why not make a little effort and change our routines to try to make the best possible life for us? Now, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about yoga for relaxation, because that's another one that all of us type A people have a hard time with.
That's correct. Okay, wonderful. Okay.
Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may...
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Did you know that the average teenager drinks twice as much soda as milk? Since 1983, sugar consumption in the U.S. is up 28%. Why is that? There are several reasons, but one of the most common is soft drinks. 20-ounce beverages have become the norm, and it's not surprising to find that 43% of our sugar comes from drinks. Sugar is blamed for poor nutritional diets. USDA data shows that people whose diets are high in added sugar eat less calcium, fiber, iron, protein, and many other important nutrients. Fat-free foods are also a culprit. Since sugar is fat-free, many people tend to think it's okay to eat as much as they want. Remember that just because a food is fat-free does not mean that it's calorie-free also. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
It's words you never heard.
One evening in 1929, William Lear and Elmer Wavering of Quincy, Illinois, were out driving with their girlfriends. One of the girls suggested it would be even more romantic if they could listen to music. The guys liked the idea and started tinkering with installing a home radio in the car. They sold their idea to a radio manufacturing company and applied for a loan with a local banker to get production started. Thinking it might sweeten the deal, they installed one of their new radios in the banker's vehicle. Unfortunately, the banker's car caught on fire and they didn't get the loan. They must have felt like Dunder Clumpins. Not giving up, they drove to a radio convention and sat outside in the car with the radio blasting. Soon orders were pouring in, and taking a cue from the Victrola, because their radio was going in a car, they called it the Motorola.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Trying to keep your head up to the sky.
Hey, and welcome back to our yoga show. We're talking today with Judy Rosquete. And for those promo codes, if you want to use them, it's Beck, B-E-C-K, like my last name. And then it's SC. And what was the other one, Judy?
SC for scoliosis, Beck, SC, one word, and Beck, BC for back care.
For back care. Now, I wanted to say before we get into talking about yoga for relaxation, I want to talk a little bit about the changes that you see in someone from the time they come to work with you to like 6 months to a year later. And the reason I bring this up is I have a friend who has worked with you. And when I saw him a year ago, I could barely hug him because he was so hunched over. Mm-hmm. And now he has straightened up and I can give him a regular hug.
All for the hug. You're doing it for the hug.
Well, the hugging is important. I know. Intimacy is important, and it's hard to hug somebody that's all hunched over, and that's got to do something like for your pain. It's got to be frustrating. I mean, talk a little bit about that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we want to prevent as much of this as we can. And when I see those video game kid generation, like my kids hunched over already, all I could think of is what are they going to be like at 60 and 70? So let's talk a little bit about like that process. They're all hunched over. There's got to be a lot of pain associated with it.
Yeah, well, as far as kids are concerned, they're not going to listen now.
No, they're
having
not.
fun. They're not going to listen. Wait till they get older and come into pain, and then they'll pay attention. They'll have no choice, right? So we often get people that are new to yoga. I see especially men come when they're already in severe pain. It's like, oh my God, they're dying. That's when they come. Women are a little better. They come when they're in pain, and when they're in pain, they're not very nice. They're not nice people to be around with. But after this is where the important yoga teacher comes into play. You have to be understanding. Don't take it personal. They're in pain. And once you help them and they get your energy, your positive, supportive energy, then they'll feel comfortable and they will loosen up and they keep coming back. But I wanted to stress one thing about the woman that you saw in the picture, the one that was really hunched over and now she's upright. She did a practice, like she was shown by Rachel something once a week, a class, and then she gradually did her work every day. And when she was in pain, once in a while, you're not going to feel like doing anything. There is a go-to pose. It is a supportive relaxation pose that's still working on you while you are doing nothing. You're in a supportive pose. It's amazing. But the important thing to stress is that you need to maintain your body with a little something every day. And so now, even if my scoliosis is not very severe, I have to do something every day, because if I try to do anything crazy, let's say I don't have much time and I want to go running. That's first off a crazy thing to do when you have scoliosis. But if I try to go running, I'll be in severe back pain for days. I used to go running when I was younger, and when I noticed when I got older, I started going running, and I would run one day and be out of commission for 3 days. I need 3 or 4 days to get over that one run. And at the time, I didn't know what it was, and it was because I had my asymmetries in the back. So if you have pain in your back and you say, why am I always in pain after I don't know, play baseball, play golf? Why am I always in pain for days? Think about it. You have an asymmetry in the spine. So that's what happens. So once they get into their routine, the pain will diminish, and they'll be happier people, ergo, happier relationships, better relationships.
Wow. I mean, I think, when you talk about pain like that, I think of my headache years and how I would snap at my kids or snap at my staff, or and how tiring pain is. Like, that's the one thing that I didn't realize was pain makes you tired.
Exhausted. And And even thinking back of people that you used to work with, and sometimes you may have even hated your job because of the people you work with. And how do you know they weren't having issues? They didn't even know themselves, and you would take it personally. You would absorb that energy and walk around with it. But what's great about yoga in general is, it helps you to really calm your nervous system. It helps you to be better at relationships. It helps you to be happier, helps you to focus. I could go on and on of what it helps. Do you have any specific questions of what you want to know about yoga or discuss about yoga?
Well, I want to share, some of the things that have happened to me and have you, not only validate it, but encourage other people, to start this practice. Because one of the things it did, once I learned to sit still, okay, to be fair, it took me a while. Once I learned to sit still and I could feel my body, I could start feeling where the tension is and then work to release it before I got all tied up in knots. Because I used to have to get a massage once a week. I mean, it wasn't a luxury. It was I was driving 2 hours each way in LA traffic. I was driving for real estate. I'm clomping up and down with these heels on, things like that. I made these changes. I made the change to only wear heels when I absolutely need to. And I would pack my heels with me, and then I would wear different shoes until I had to put my heels on. And I do love heels. Don't get me wrong. I love the way my feet look, my legs look. I really like it. But I don't want it at the expense of back pain.
Exactly. So yoga helps with everything. Look, I came to yoga when, growing up, I told you I was first introduced in the gym with yoga, but then that's just the hook. You see, yoga, as we know it in the West, is that physical part. That's how we get hooked into yoga, the physical part. It's really number 3 of 8 parts of what yoga is. Yoga means union. Union of what? Union of the self with the divine. And I don't mean to sound hokey. I apologize if I sound hokey to some people, but there is a higher awareness, a higher energy, higher than us. We are just humans. We have egos, right? We are not the end-all, be-all. So but whichever way you got to yoga, who cares? I got to yoga through doing the physical postures, and then it helped me to relax. Then I got into the breathing exercises, which that took me one day out of my body. I literally went into a zone for 2 minutes. I held my breath because we were doing exercises and holding the breath in class. But since I was going every day, I literally went somewhere on another plane. I can't even describe it for you, but it's called the astral plane in yoga. And when they said finally to breathe, I felt like I was pulled back into my body and woken up, and I realized, oh my gosh, I need to exhale. Okay, exhale. And then from then on, I was hooked with the breathing exercises, because before then, I was the typical New Yorker saying, okay, let's move, let's get to nitty-gritty, let's do the standing pose, let's do the strengthening, let's go. But no, I learned that taking it back a notch really made all of it make sense and worthwhile. I'm telling you, I changed my life so that I could teach yoga and share this with other people. Don't regret it.
See, and that's something that, this is where ego and ignorance, comes into play with me. I was like, you know what, Judy, I've breathed my whole life. I've been breathing since the day I was born. How can I get this wrong? But I didn't realize that breath work was
powerful.
A thing.
Yeah, powerful. So you can see why they use breath work for pregnancy and in Lamaze. And while they use breath work with, by the way, years ago in California, you probably remember this story. There was a gentleman who was going to get brain surgery, and he did not want to use anesthesia or drugs. So he wanted to do his pranayama, which are the breathing exercises in yoga, throughout his whole surgery. Well, naturally, the hospital was against this, but they made him sign all these disclaimers so that he can go ahead and do that, and he did, and it worked. That's how powerful the breath is. And it's worth investigating, exploring breath work. It serves for pain, for peace of mind, just to ground yourself. You were speaking about ego earlier, and I had mentioned it earlier too. That is a big deal, because it's our ego that gets in the way of let's say, I don't know, keeping a good relationship going. Like if you're in a marriage or if you're at work or progressing, the ego will get in the way of just being a person that's likable. How about that?
Well, and I think, this is where yoga has helped me become a calmer person. So I'm more apt to respond to a situation than just react. And I think yoga can help relationships because it also helps you keep perspective. Like when you're doing your yoga practice, at least for me, it gives me a timeout. Like, and I'm the type of person that needs a timeout because I can get really intense. I can really get going.
Yeah.
And if I don't take a time out, like, I jokingly, my kids will even say, they're like, Mom, you need a time out. So I'll go do a little yoga. I'll go and take my bath. I might read a book. I'll do, decompress.
Yeah.
But I found that you can train yourself to sleep better too.
Absolutely. Sleep is so important. And after, it used to be when I used to go running in the park, I would have a great night's sleep, of course, because I was exhausted. But after a really good yoga class, and especially the inversions like the shoulder stand or legs up the wall, calming and breathing exercises, I could sleep peacefully without interruptions, without my mind, we call it monkey mind, going all over the place. And so the breath can take you there as well as a very nice yoga class that will give you the breathing exercise, the tools. So yoga is about giving you tools to cope with life. You mentioned something about perspective. It also makes me at least aware of what is important in life. There's a tendency here, I'm going to say here in America, in the West, that about how important it is to have material things, to live in the right neighborhood, to send the kids to the right school, to, the right clothes, the right to be seen at the right place. You know what,
Judy, I need to cut you off. I need to take us to commercial break, but we're going to talk about this when we get back because this is really important.
Okay,
the concept of the right whatever it is, and what that does to our families, what it does to our relationships, what it does to our bodies and ourselves. We'll be back after the break with our yoga show, visiting with Judy Rosquete. We'll be back after the break.
Information about book publishing is power. The power to change your authoring life and the power to change the lives of your readers. So join us for Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. You'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now. As the book shepherd, Dr. Judith Briles is in. And each week, she will include publishing professionals that will reveal tips and secrets to the author's journey. If there is a book in you want to listen, learn, and yes, call in with your questions each week. For more on Judith and what she can do for you, check out her website, thebookshepherd.com. It's Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and The Book Shepherd with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
It's words you never heard.
I managed to run out of coffee again this morning. I didn't even have enough to make one cup. Boy, was that a miskabobble or big mistake, because I make serious coffee, so strong it wakes up the neighbors. Now, I don't have a problem with caffeine. I have a problem without caffeine. I get wadgety and burkety. Did you know apples are more efficient than coffee for keeping people awake in the morning? Unfortunately, I didn't have any apples either. Acorns were used as a coffee substitute during the American Civil War. Without my hot cup of coffee in the morning, I'm feeling pretty squirrely myself. What do you call that piece of cardboard that wraps around your coffee cup to keep from burning your hand? A zarf.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
You are beautiful, no matter what they say. Words can't bring you down. No, no.
Hey, and welcome back to the Yoga Show. We've been talking with Judy Rosquete, and today we're going to talk, or I guess right now in this segment, we're going to talk about viewpoints, because one of the things that yoga did was it changed my view of things, and it gave me a different perspective. And now when I was swimming in my swimming years, we had bodies that looked like divers, bodies that were breaststrokers or freestylers or backstrokers. You could look at a tall, skinny person and go, oh, they'd make a good freestyler or backstroker. You could look at the body types and see that. And so I kind of got brainwashed, and living in LA, it's very easy to get brainwashed into certain body types are better than others. And when I started yoga, I couldn't believe, Judy, people were fat, they were thin, they were tall, they were short, they were young, they were old. And some people, could bend certain ways and other people couldn't. And I remember this one girl with the longest legs, like she was next to me. I have little short stubby legs. So I'm trying to wrap my leg around, and I got my leg around a certain way, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. She had these long, like giraffe legs, and I thought she could wrap them around her neck 3 times with feet to spare. She couldn't move at all. And she was skinny as a rail, and I had just had my second kid, so I was packing on some extra pounds. I couldn't believe the differences. And that's when I started to look at the differences in bodies, going, it's not what we see on TV. It's not what we're programmed to believe. Like, these are bodies. These are real human bodies.
Yeah, everybody, like, there's this woman, she was heavy set, and she said, Judy, can someone who's heavy do yoga? And I said, well, of course. And by the way, everything could be modified. So yes, my torso, my upper body is small compared to my legs. My legs seem to be longer than my torso. So that there are things that I can do that I'm now very aware of how to accommodate. And if that's as far as I can go, then that's as far as I can go. The person next to me, who happens to be 5 inches taller, may not be able to do what I do because I have the advantage of a shorter body, torso, and vice versa. So it really doesn't matter. And different bodies between men and women. There's a lot of things that men can do. Obviously, those strengthening poses that you're standing on your hands, but women cannot, and that's okay. Women can build the muscle and the strength. It's really about, Sandra, it's really about enjoying the journey. So I had this one woman who kept telling me, she was a private, she kept telling me, all right, what next? Okay, what next? Okay, what next? And I was wondering, why is she telling me what next? What's next? It's like she had a checklist in her mind, saying, okay, that she's done like 5 or 6 things in the private lesson. And then until I told her, can you slow down, breathe, and I want you to enjoy this journey. I want you to close your eyes and breathe into that little area over here that we're working on. And then she changed, right? It's not about being accomplishing something all the time. Take it back a notch, enjoy the journey, your body, and the experience, what comes out of it. We were talking about being right. Sandra, you had mentioned about being right.
Yeah, the right body, the right car, the right everything today.
Exactly. It's whatever is right for you. If you want to, if you love your ego and you want to live up, live there, that's fine. We call that, we call people that have that kind of thinking lower natured thinking. Okay? So then there's the higher consciousness, people that are more aware and more in tune with their bodies and the surroundings, and a little more sensitive, conscientious of your neighbor, of the child next door, or whomever, your neighbor. And then we have other people that are ignorant. They're all about themselves, and they want what they want, and they don't care, or they gossip, or there's something like that, some quality of that. That is a lower-natured quality. So as yogis, we have our little code of ethics, and we have our restraints. We call them yamas, and the yamas, they're like it's like a path. We have a path on moving higher in consciousness. So that's why the physical exercises is number 3, and the very last one is complete integration with the object, like a higher being, a higher presence. It's hard to explain on the radio. It's something you have to experience bit by bit.
Well, I think it starts to unfold. Like, this is what happened to me. I started accomplishing like very young. I graduated with my master's degree when I was 20. So I was really like accomplished, wrote a book, did this, did television, blah, blah, blah. I had all these things on my bucket list, and I wouldn't say that I completed everything by the time I was 30, but by the time I was 35, I did a lot of things that I wanted to do, like in my earthly plane, if you will, like the things I wanted to do here. And then I thought to myself, like, I had these kids, and I'm like, there's more to life than this. There's more to accomplishment. Because one of the things I found was I had no money, then I had tons of money. And when I had no money, I worried about there wasn't enough money. When I had so much money, I couldn't spend it all. I worried about people taking the money away from me. And then, the markets changed, the real estate market. I lost a lot of money. Then I had to battle it back.
It is endless. Worry
it's endless.
is endless. The fluctuation of the mind is endless. The breath in yoga will bring you more to stilling those fluctuations of the mind. But you also have to, as you grow into higher consciousness, you get to see what is really important. Do I really need this humongous house and pay all these taxes? Or can I live in a more affordable area, a smaller house, and have just less stuff,
Well, and it's what you want. I will say I really enjoyed having a lot of stuff. I really enjoyed having a lot of money. I mean, but I don't.
You. Whatever makes you happy, it's what's right.
But I don't need it. Like, that's the difference. That's the difference that yoga and meditation has brought me. I don't need those things to be happy. And you know what? The other thing happened, Judy, like a funny thing happened on the way to the yoga studio, is that I could get more enjoyment out of what I had, whether it was a lot or a little. And I disconnected from the expectation of things and relaxed into the enjoyment of things. And that sounds so crazy coming from me, who's like, go, 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 type A, go, 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 go.
Exactly. In yoga, we call that being detached from the fruit of the action, of the effort, of the labor. So if you do a good deed and you do not expect, praise, you want to be detached. You just do a good deed for the sake of doing a good deed. So I think I know where you're coming from when it comes that you detach. You don't have to always have all this stuff and expect something in return. Just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it. And whether you have a lot or a little that day, I remember this one guy, Jay, he was a client of mine. He used to get so mad. He could lose $1 million in the stock market in an afternoon. And he would call up and yell at me. And then the next morning he'd make $2 million and he'd call up and tell me how happy he was. And his entire life was predicated on what he did in the stock market that day. And, at the time I thought it was fascinating, but
that defined him.
It defined him.
Yeah. And how sad.
It was sad because he couldn't have a good day. He had a wife, he had kids.
Could you imagine going back home to the wife and being high, being low, being high? And it's like, it's one day you're going to pass away. None of that is going to matter. What is going to matter? The memories that you share with your family, what you leave behind, contentment, joy. I tell this to anybody. I used to have a job that wasn't great, but I found contentment in that job. And nobody ever had a problem with me. In fact, they all liked me.
Well, I like you. I think you're very likable. I mean, but the point being is like, and this is where it gets funny, like into my control issues. I used to be very controlling at times in my life. And what I found is I don't want the universe controlling me. I don't want the universe telling me you had a good day today because you got X amount of money. You bought this car. You had this pound on the scale. There's all these things that I'm like, who's in control of my emotions, me or the universe? And I want to be in control of my emotions. I want to wake up every day and feel good. And in order for me to do that, I need to do my movements and I need to do my meditation and my yoga and that's the way I control me. And it's weird because it's controlling by letting go.
Excellent. Excellent way to wrap this up. Controlling by letting go. Why do we feel like we have to control everything? We're not going to be happy. We have to allow things to sort of like come in as a wave and go out and see what happens, see how things unfold. because you never know. You ever thought I thought I was gonna be in the radio with you because I went to visit somebody that needed help with their facts? No. That's a wave of life coming into my life and going out. And then this might lead to something else. Maybe I'll get an email from somebody, hey, can I come over and study with you? Like, sure.
Right. Well, but you gave me the gift of validating this experience that I've had over the past 3 years, that I will continue the rest of my life, not because I'm getting paid, not because anybody's telling me to do it, but because it feels so good. And if you want to feel good, you want to get out of pain, that's why you go to somebody like Judy.
Yes, thank you. That's Judy@RachelJessian.com if anybody wants to send me an email.
Yes, absolutely. Now, how do you spell that again? Rachel, R-A-C-H-E-L?
RachelJessien as in Nancy.com. RachelJessian.com. So Judy@RachelJessian.com.
That's wonderful.
Thank
hey,
you
Judy,
so much.
if you could give our listeners, if you could give our listeners the last piece of advice in like 30 seconds, what would you tell them today? You got a chance to reach all these people.
Yeah, I was going to, well, I think I mentioned it before. Whatever you're doing, seek the good, the positive in whatever you're doing. If you feel like your life is not going in the right direction, you are the driver of your life. You can make it go in the right direction. You know what to do, but something's stopping you. Think, what could be the worst thing that could happen? Find that road. Find that journey.
Thanks for tuning in to Military Mom Talk Radio. Want more information? Check us out at militarymomtalkradio.com or find us on iTunes for more than 200 free episodes. Drop us an email or find us on Facebook. We are looking forward to another great discussion. We hope you'll join us on Military Mom